At the KSMO studios, it's Intercounty Tuesday. Intercounty Tuesday means we get a visit from Intercounty, and you guys are here for a long day today.
We are, yeah.
It's Intercounty Tuesday. It's Intercounty Lunch Day. It's
Right.
Intercounty Yahoo Day.
We're just hanging out in Salem.
Not a bad thing to
It's
do.
not a bad thing to do.
Not a bad thing to do at all. Very good. Well, anyway, good to have Heather here with us.
Yeah.
And you made it over. She's got her sweater on.
I
Smart
do have
girl.
a sweater on this morning.
Yeah, it's a little cool out there this
It
morning.
was a little chilly.
Was that a little eye-opening when you walked out the door?
A
Like,
little
woohoo!
bit chillier than what I expected,
Well,
actually.
we were talking beforehand. National Weather Service kind of got caught with their pants down. You know, 'cause we had frost this morning.
Right.
And they never said anything about a frost advisory. Nowhere.
Yeah, a little chilly.
And yet we still pay those people.
Yeah. They're right sometimes, right?
They're not right very often. I don't mean that in a bad way. It'd be very difficult to predict
would,
weather all
yeah.
the time. It'd be absolutely accurate right on. But you would think clear skies, there's kind of a lot of moisture
Cold
out
front.
there. There's no wind coming from the south. There's just still air. We've had cooler days and cooler nights and clear nights, and it's not going to get warmer.
Yeah,
We are in the autumn season.
we
so.
are. Yep, we're going to.
And they did it Friday night and Saturday night about a frost warning, or a freeze warning,
Right.
frost advisory, I guess I should say. But nothing last night.
Yeah.
And it was coldest of all 3 nights.
Yeah. Yep, we had it this morning, didn't we?
Oh, well, that's all right. Hopefully you didn't have any sensitive vegetation out there, that you were prize-winning sensitive vegetation, because you may not have made it this morning.
Been a little.
Hopefully not. If you had undercover, as long as it wasn't directly out underneath that cold air,
It's probably
you're
fine.
probably going to be okay. But if it was out there, and your beautiful mums may not be beautiful mums much longer. Depends.
We had some lilacs blooming the last couple of weeks. I don't know if anybody else had that, but I would say those are gone now.
Better?
Oh, was
Why
I?
weren't you talking
Was
loud?
I off air?
No, you weren't
Oh.
off air. You just weren't coming through very loud.
Oh,
But my levels there said you were, but Melba said no.
okay. We listen
So
to Melba.
We always listen to Melba. It's for our own safety and health. Very good. All right, but as we're talking about cold,
Mm-hmm.
cold means a change
It does.
from one system, which earlier this month you probably still had on air,
Right?
but by this past weekend you probably didn't.
Yeah, you may have had heat on, or we've probably had some members pulling out their space heaters, and that's always,
I would hope not yet.
oh, well, if they're just spot warming, say a bathroom in the morning for the shower, instead of turning their whole heating system on, we say they have their time and place, they provide function, but they are not a replacement for whole home heating. And a lot of times, unfortunately, that's what we see. So when we think about space heaters, sometimes we cringe because they are not the safest by far to use, nor are they the most affordable. In fact, they're probably one of the most expensive heating sources to use. But we do recognize they have a place. They do, if used properly, can help save. If you have not turned on your heat and you didn't turn it on, and you just turned that on for 10 minutes this morning in the bathroom and then unplugged it and used it safely and kept your whole heat from coming on, then we recognize that there's times when those are going to be used, and they can be an effective solution for situations like that.
Well, absolutely. I know space heaters have their
Mm-hmm.
place. But one of the things that we talk about, like changing filters out from your air conditioner to your heating seasons.
Right.
And hopefully people will be doing that if they haven't done it already. I know you may have gotten caught off guard with this last little blast of cold air, and you say, well, then it was hot yesterday, I had to turn my air back on. Or,
Yeah. And
It
we're
does-
kind of in that time right
you
now.
are. So you maybe haven't changed your filter out yet. I just changed mine out Sunday. I said, okay, it's time.
Here we go.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
time to make that change. But you may not. But also on many of the newer space heaters, Heather, there's filters on there as
That's-
well.
that's right.
Especially the more decorative ones. And I'm not going to give anybody a plug here, but
Right.
you look on the back and there's a filter there, and if that filter is dirty, that space heater has got to work super hard to get air through it to blow out. And guess
Plus,
what?
you've got a collection of dust and dirt and other flammable materials within pretty close proximity of that heating element.
Yeah, and the other thing that I worry about with space heaters, because you may not have used it now for 6 months
Right.
or more or less, but may not. And I don't know about anybody else's house, but I know my house finds dust bunnies.
Oh, yeah.
They just all of a sudden hop up. I
Right.
guess that's why they call them dust bunnies.
Yeah.
And one thing bad about a dust bunny is they always seem to collect around flammable areas.
Like
They
the
do,
space
like
heater.
fireplaces and things of that nature. They just happen to be right there. And that includes your space heater. Well, if you had a dust bunny sitting around, that dust bunny is not inside that unit, but that dust bunny can get sucked inside that unit. And you could get a fire. That could happen. So
Right.
before you turn that space heater on, hopefully before you turn that space heater on, you do check around your unit, make sure there are no dust critters. I'm not necessarily a bunny. It could be a dust possum.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's not a dust gorilla.
Yeah.
That'd be a big old...
That'd be a big one. But, we tell you to make sure there's space around your space heater.
Yes.
And that, make sure the area is clean, obviously, but you want to make sure there's not anything else flammable. Don't have a stack of newspapers sitting there. You don't
Near
want your
drapes?
drapes just hanging and kind of, there's a fan on those. And like you said, stuff can get sucked in. And if your drapes are right there, whether in front of or behind it, that does become a flammable item. And we don't want to see any of our members have house fires because of space heaters. And I'm with you on the newer ones have a lot more features, and they are much more safe than the older ones that maybe you remember your parents having
more
when you were
expensive,
kids.
too.
A lot more expensive, but they still use the same amount to use. No matter if they're prettier or if they're safer, they're still, if they use a watt, they use a watt.
So, if it says 5,000 watts on there, and I have the old wire one that glows in the dark and will
It
ignite
says
anything
5,000
near
watts.
it, to the 5,000 one that's sitting in the beautiful cabinet that looks like an end table.
They both use the same.
My gosh.
I know, isn't that amazing?
And I think people need to realize that. Now, on some of the newer ones, they have different levels.
Right.
Okay. Which may mean you may not be using totally 5,000, but you're still using some portion of that. But most people, when they come in, and I'll relate that kind of to most people that I know, when they come in a room, if it's cold, they're not going to turn it on the lowest setting.
Right. They just turn it on and leave it on high.
Yeah, right. To get it warm.
To get it warmed up because they're cold. That's why they're turning it on. Yeah.
So it's not something to maintain. It's something to get immediate heat there as quickly as possible and warm up that room.
Right. And we want to make sure, too, if you're using space heaters, that those are intended to be used when you're home, when you're in the room, not when you're asleep. Make sure that you're not leaving those running when you go to bed. If you want to get the bedroom warmed up before you crawl in bed, just make sure you turn that off before you go to sleep for the night. Make sure you're not leaving that running during the day while you're at school and work and just leaving it unattended at home because there is such a risk for a fire hazard.
And it's easy to forget.
They are, yep. Especially if you use them often. You're rushing around getting ready in the morning, and maybe you used it this morning in the shower, and it was nice and toasty.
God, hope we didn't use it in the shower.
Not in the shower, while you were in the shower.
That might give you a memory.
Or not.
A quick one.
Yeah. But, they are easy to forget. So just make sure if you're using them safely. And if you've got kids, make sure your kids understand the risks associated with leaving one running. I've got a 14-year-old boy, and we have a space heater that we can pull out from time to time for cold bathrooms before Mama's ready to turn the heat on. And
Mama's not ready to turn the heat on yet.
I'm not ready. I'm holding out. But it's not a big deal to him. He doesn't understand it. So there's constantly, then I'm the nagging mother.
Well,
because I'm like, you could have burned our house down.
That's true.
But the reality is they can and they do.
Yeah. And as we mentioned, they've gotten a lot safer and a lot better, but there's still, you don't want your children playing around space heaters either.
Right.
So you don't want them in an area where,
You
like
got
a
toddlers,
kid, like you, let's say your son has a couple of friends over, and maybe they've got some glasses of water sitting around, and they tip over the water. Well, guess what? Water and electric don't mix. And if
Mm-hmm.
that happens to be on, say, a tile floor, and that could run right underneath it, you could have a major issue.
You're right.
So again, safety is paramount in what we're talking about. Space heater safety, but also not just with the space heater being safe, but also the people around the space heater being safe.
Right.
It is an area that you want to keep clear, devoid of all dust, devoid of all possible flammables. And also, one thing, check your cord. I mean, Heather, I don't know
That's
about
good advice.
I don't know about you, but I do know about some people I've seen in the past, and even I have to include myself in that a few times, where you grab the cord and you want to move the space heater, and you just yank it
Pull it
out of the wall. Probably not the best thing to do. Because first off, if it's secured in that nice socket, and hopefully your socket's good and tight, hold that thing, you're putting a lot of extra strain on that wire, and you're pulling it out. That's stuck in that socket for a
Right.
reason. And when you're pulling it directly out, guess what? You might be pulling those wires just a little farther and stretching them a little farther. Probably not a big deal the first 500 times you do it, but the 501
You got problems.
might be a problem. So where your space heater may come off and on. Maybe you're just barely making a connection there. So, and also then watch for frayed wires. It does happen. A lot of people like to try and hide their wires under carpets.
Yeah, and don't do that.
That's not a good thing, is it?
No. And you got to watch pets too. You know, they see
Oh,
that they
yes.
may want to chew on it. So you want to make sure that those aren't around where a pet could chew on them, or maybe they did last year and you've put it up and didn't notice it. So that's another good reason to make sure you're inspecting those before you start using them for the year.
Safety first.
Always.
Always
Yep.
safety first. So,
Yep.
very good. All right. But it is cooler. It is getting to that time of year, and hopefully you have got everything done that you said you were going to do with your caulking and your thresholds and everything with your windows, gone around.
They did that last month. I know they did because
Okay.
we talked about it.
But if they didn't get to it yet, I mean, you still have some time to get it done.
You just got to
But
watch the temperature.
But you
really
have to watch the
closely.
temperature.
Yeah.
You put caulking out right now, it has to be 55 degrees and above for most caulking. There may be a few that go down into the 40s. But at night, when you're dipping into the 30s, that's going to stay soup. It's not going to harden up. It's not going to do what it needs to do. Still stay pliable, but it's going to be kind of runny. It won't stick very well to the surfaces. So again, do read any of that if you still have to get that kind of job done. Please do look hard at the instructions
Right.
on the
Right.
tube or bottle or whatever it might be that you're using. And also, too, at this time of year, check all your windows. If you aren't going to be opening them again, or you don't plan to open again, make sure they're all locked.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, sometimes people leave their windows unlocked because they forget that they opened their window to let some fresh air in. You know what? Last week we had some beautiful days.
We did. We had some beautiful weather.
And people open up their windows, and I saw them, and I'm thinking, I hope you remember when you shut that window to lock it. A lot of people just bring it down, so they want a little night air. So they don't quite take it all the way down. They got a nice little cool night air coming in, really nice. Unfortunately, somewhere down the road, the thing's got to be relocked, and if you don't close that all the way, and it gets 32 degrees like this morning, you make it a little cool in that room.
Yeah.
Just
and,
for your own
and
personal
they're not sealed. You know, even if you push them all the way down, there's still a little bit of air that can come around those. So when they're locked, not only for safety reasons you want to lock them, but also when those are locked, you know the seal is as tight as it can be.
Very good. I'm done.
You know what I've seen this last week?
No, but you're going to tell me.
Yard decorations.
Oh, yeah. I have seen a few.
Yeah.
I've seen a new one out. It's a big old pumpkin. Did you see that one with
I
the big
didn't-
old pumpkin?
I
It's just a
didn't-
flat pumpkin.
Huh.
Yeah.
A flat one?
Yeah, it's about 8 feet tall, and it's round,
Oh.
but it's flat. It's like 2 feet wide, but it's not like a big fat pumpkin.
Right.
You know, not like a jack-o'-lantern pumpkin.
Right.
Okay, we have to make sure we get the terminology
Get it
correct.
right.
But it's just like a slice of pumpkin.
Yeah.
And it's out there, and it's got the decorations in, and it really
I
was.
haven't-
I hadn't seen that one before,
Yeah.
But you're right. I did
Yeah,
see some yard
those
decorations
are
up. And people actually decorating in orange lights now on their house.
orange and purple. We saw a lot of orange and purple lights. So, and people get excited about the holidays, and that's wonderful. I mean, it really is. You want to decorate. People like
I thought it
to
was for Columbus Day. To be
enjoy
honest.
seeing that. Well, I'm not sure that. Was it a ship that inflatable? Maybe I'm not sure the pumpkin would be for Columbus.
Three of them.
Nina, the Pinta, and the Santa
Santa
Maria.
Maria.
You're right.
Absolutely.
But there are a lot of decorations, and we've talked about this for the past couple of years because we've seen an increasing number of people who start decorating in the fall with inflatables. And, then there'll be some turkeys for Thanksgiving, and we'll see Christmas decorations, obviously. But please just know that when you start plugging those things in, expect there to be more usage on your electric bill. And that's all. That's all we want to tell you. We're not going to tell you not to do it.
Oh, no.
We just don't want you to be surprised when you get your electric bill. If you've got some inflatables in your yard, those fans run constantly. That's
Yep.
what keeps those inflated. Lights, of course, they are more efficient. There's more efficient options you can buy that don't use as much. But anytime you're plugging extra things in, there's going to be extra usage. So please just be aware of that.
You can check, and if you're not sure how much that's going to add to your electric bill, take a look at what's on the fan and how much usage it says it's going to be and what their power requirements are. And then contact Intercounty. Just
Right.
say, hey, I plan on using this. I've got this huge 27-foot witch that I want to put in my front
Yeah.
yard. It's got 4 fans, and they all do this amount. How much more is that going to cost me to do that?
Yeah, and we'll walk through the math with you and give you, we can tell you, hey, if you run it 24 hours a day, this is how much it's going to cost you. Or we can break it down every hour that it's on. This is what it'll cost you. And then you can kind of decide, well, maybe I just want to run that few hours in the
Just in an evening.
afternoon when the kids are getting out of school or, whatever.
4 to
it might
8.
be. Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
But that's fine. But don't be left lurking in the unknown, because you buy these things, and a lot of people don't usually just buy one. If they've put those big blow-up yard ornaments, usually there's 1 or 2.
Right.
Maybe 3.
Yeah.
A lot of people love them, and that's great. I think they're cool to drive by. Don't want in my yard, but I have to move it to do leaves and stuff. It's
Yeah.
just like extra work. But some people don't have that issue. Some people don't have the trees, so they don't have to worry about that. But this time of year,
Yeah.
that's also another consideration that people have to have about their outdoor wiring, because you do have leaves that are falling.
Right.
In case you hadn't noticed, it's called fall
Fall.
for a reason. And leaves are starting to fall, and they can pile up and very easily, Heather, get blown. We're going to be having some pretty brisk winds that are going to be coming in for the next, not today, but probably tomorrow we're going to start seeing them. And then all the way through Saturday, we're talking 25, 30 mile an hour gusting winds. That's going to be blowing
It's
some
windy.
leaves around. It's going to be blowing leaves out of the trees as well. That could start piling up against a house, or could start piling up against your one lone electrical outlet that you have that's powering every single one of your outdoor appurtenances. And if you have, the safety caps on some of those out there, of course, if you have some plugged in, safety cap is not over it.
Right.
So there could be things that get up in there. You want to make sure you keep that clean, but also check the wiring that you have. If you have extension cords running out to these, check them.
Right. And make sure those connections are sealed tight. We've talked before about some of the things that you can buy now
Yeah,
that
they are.
that haven't always been
protectors on
around,
the
but they're
ends,
the
yeah.
protectors. It kind of makes this little case over your connections and keeps it, I don't know
Keeps
if
the rain
it
out?
says 100% watertight, but it's much more safe than not having anything on it at all. But yeah, it keeps the rain and the moisture out, and when you've got stuff plugged in outside, that's a concern.
It should be a concern. And that can start a fire, especially when leaves are out there. And those leaves are not going to work to your 8 to 5 schedule. They
Yeah.
blow all the time. And last thing you want to do is get a leaf fire, because once a leaf fire goes and it's windy, that leaf just doesn't sit there. If it catches a few other leaves, and all of a sudden you watch them just take off, and they end up
Catching other stuff on fire.
neighbors' yards and out in a field across the way, which has got a lot of brittle grass in it right now. And, fire in windy conditions is not
Never
a fun
good.
thing, and you don't want to have that happen. So
If you have to think, is it a good day to burn? It's probably not a good day to burn.
That's a good
Yeah.
thought. We gotta
Yeah.
we gotta put you in marketing.
Yeah,
or
we
something.
could coin something,
Yeah.
couldn't we?
If you have to think about it, don't do it.
Right. Good advice
Oh,
for a lot of situations.
I was gonna say that might be
Life
more
advice. Yeah.
widespread than we know.
Right?
Okay, very good. So yes, inflatables, love them, and not just for Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas. There's Easter ones. There's 4th of July ones. There's all kinds of them out there. So gang, always be prepared. One thing I did want to bring up, and we have talked about this in the past, is this is also the time of year we talk about changing the filter, but also might not be a bad idea to get the furnace checked.
Yeah. And that's something that if you do it now, when it's kind of like, oh, I'd like to turn my heat on, or I'm thinking I need to turn my heat on, it's much better to get on the schedule when they're not busy, your heating and cooling person, or when it's at your convenience and their convenience, rather than, it being in the middle of winter and it goes out and we're in a week full of below freezing weather. They're going to be busy and it's going to be hard to get out. So if you thinking about it now, go ahead, call your heating cooling person. Absolutely. Let them come out, check your unit, check your ductwork, make sure that's all, those connections are all good, and the connections to the vents in your home, those are all good, because anytime you've got air escaping through either ductwork that has come
Seals,
apart,
yep.
or where the ductwork isn't connected to the vents inside your home real well, that's just wasting you money. Your unit's going to have to run even harder and longer to get the home to the temperature that it needs, because some of that's escaping. So yeah, that's great advice. Go ahead and have it checked now when it's not an emergency,
Yes.
rather than waiting.
And if you happen to live in a mobile home, or maybe even a manufactured home that has a lot of that built in already under the crawl space, I highly recommend you get somebody there to check it. A lot of times they come with you might be with your furnace companies when you buy a new unit, something like that. Sometimes there's a 2 or 3 year or maybe even 5-year deal that you can get where they actually come every year and inspect, which is not a bad idea.
Take advantage of it
Because
if you've got
if you
that.
have critters that get underneath, especially in mobile homes, you get critters underneath there, they can knock that ductwork loose. And you might be warming up underneath there, and they're going to invite all their friends
They just
to live
love you.
underneath your
Yeah.
mobile home, because it's nice and warm and toasty down here while you're freezing inside and you keep cranking it up.
Yeah.
But you never know, little raccoons and little possums, they tend to get a little mischievous.
Right. Nudge right up against that ductwork. Especially we see that a lot in the winter because it is cold, and they'll want to be right up against
That's
it,
right.
and can knock it loose. So
And if you have a hole in that underpinning,
they'll get in there.
they find a way.
They will get
Find
in there.
a way.
Yeah.
Yes, they do. All right, very good. So just a couple of good suggestions there. So we got a lot of good suggestions today.
I know. Lots of advice.
Oh, man, this is a pretty good day. Plus free lunch.
I know. That's the big thing we would need to talk about.
Oh, I know. Free lunch. I love free lunch.
Lunch is good. Our members are good, and that's what we're celebrating today. It is Co-op Month, October is, and each year we celebrate Co-op Month by having Member Appreciation Days. And it's really grown over the last several years. We started out one day with 3 different events, one in Rolla, Licking, and Mountain Grove, and we served lunch at all 3 locations. We kind of split up, and everybody did their thing at the same time. And then we started, hey, let's do it 3 different days. And then, well, we've got locations that aren't really close to the office, so let's add some. And even this year, we added St. James. We're going to be in St. James later this month for the first time this year. So we've got 7 different locations over the course of October.
Wow.
And today is Salem's Day.
Salem Day.
Yeah, so from 11 to 1, we'll be over at the Commons, and we're going to be serving cheeseburgers and chips and cakes and
Oh, I thought
soda.
it was prime rib this year.
I know, right?
Dang,
yeah.
I must have got the wrong memo.
Everybody's disappointed now. Thanks, Stan.
No, it's ground prime rib.
It is. Yeah. I like how you think.
It's
That's
ground prime
good.
rib. Yeah.
But it is nice. It's a way that we can kind of connect with our members. Annual meeting is a great day. We know not everybody can come, so this is a way to say, hey, we see you, we appreciate you, we're going to come to you. And we come out and we cook in the different areas, and we're able to do deliveries to the businesses that are around. So we'll get you some burgers brought down later. But yeah, it's a good day. We get to visit. It's kind of a smaller version. It's like little mini annual meetings
Yeah.
throughout the month of October, and we get a chance to talk to the members. We do have an electric credit drawing, so if you come over to the Commons, you can put your name in for that. But we get a chance to visit. We get a chance to hear their ideas, their concerns. Maybe if they've got complaints too, we need to hear those. I mean, people think complaints it's a negative thing, but if there's something that's been bothering you, we can't fix it if we don't know. So,
Or maybe something just troubling you. You're not
right.
sure.
We would prefer not to be screamed at when you tell us your complaint, if I could put that request in. But in all seriousness,
Doesn't get you very far screaming.
no. Well,
It gets it off your chest, but it doesn't do any more than just being nice and say, I've got an issue at my house.
yeah.
Can you check it out?
And we want to fix it. We really do. And we have a great group of linemen that are available to come out and take a look at things and fix things if there's something that does need to be fixed. We've got a great member service team if they need to come out and take a look at some things in your home that you think might be causing you to have increased usage. You know, we want to make things better, but we got to know if there's a problem. So share those with us, share your ideas with us. The St. James, that's been something the last couple of years that, hey, why don't you come out to St. James? We're quite a ways from Rolla and can't get to Rolla Member Appreciation Day. So here we are adding something like that. So we do listen when you share those ideas with us. It may not be that we can get a change made right away, but we do take those into consideration and hopefully can get to the point where we've incorporated something that
Exactly.
includes that. So we enjoy the opportunity to visit with our members, and October is a really great month to do that. The weather is not always cooperative. As you mentioned, October is one of those months where you might have a really nice, beautiful, sunny day. And
Like today.
And you might have just a miserable, rainy, windy, cold day.
Rainy, cold, nasty day.
But we've had the question a few times, if the weather's bad, do you reschedule? We do not. We rain or shine. A couple years ago, I worked the Roby Member Appreciation Day, and let me tell you, it was cold. It was so cold. We were in gloves and hats and coats, and the guys grilling had lots of company around the grill because we wanted to be there and stay warm. But we're going to be out there grilling for you, and we'll serve lunch, and we'll get it brought to you, and whatever day it's scheduled is the day we'll have it.
Yeah, and people have to understand, because it is an effort, it's a company effort, so people have to get pulled from different departments to do this, do the cooking.
A lot of coordination.
And a lot of coordination, and then the delivery people and things, just get everything set up, get the grill set up and everything done.
Right.
It does take a lot of efforts to do this, and we want to thank Intercounty for that.
Well, thank you.
And we hope that everybody, if you have an opportunity, gets out there and you can just go visit, say hello, if nothing else, and also compliments are not bad either. If you have a good compliment, just tell Intercounty about. Maybe a lineman came out and did something and then just told you, hey, I saw this. I was driving by and I saw this limb hanging on there. We went in and just took it off. A lot of times they do that just to let you know that I didn't know if you saw it or not. A lot of times you don't see it.
Yeah.
And these guys sometimes do yeoman's work that you don't ever see.
That's true. And we've got a great group over here in Salem. Talk about coordination for today. Salem is our biggest Member Appreciation Day. We do the most deliveries over here. You guys are on top, aren't you?
You bet.
But it's one of our biggest days. It's one of our busiest days. We've got to pump a lot of sacked lunches out, and we always have a really good crew over here that are willing to step in and help. And where do I need to go? What do you need me to take? How do you need me to help? And we certainly appreciate that when we're trying to coordinate something like this, the willingness to help. So you guys got a good group over here in
You
Salem.
bet. Well, we got a good group.
Hopefully none of them are listening, because I just gave them a super big ego. But
It's all right.
Yeah.
It's good to have a big ego one day a year.
okay, we'll allow it
Maybe
then.
2 on Lineman Day, but that's,
Yeah.
but they well deserved,
Yeah.
by the way, but
Yep.
well deserved. One of the things, not to deviate from member services and things of that nature, but today is also Roundup Day, and I
It
really
is.
wanted to concentrate a little bit more. We mention it virtually every single time, but this is the time of year where you're going to start seeing obviously we start to see a lot more things. Furnaces start going down, vehicles start breaking down, different things of that nature. Not your electric bill, obviously, but if you have a need, remember, you have to get your request in by the end of that month, like end of October. You'll be looked at in November.
That's right.
So if there's something already, if you already know you got a furnace problem and you know you can't afford it, this is the time right now to get in touch with Intercounty Electric and say, guys, I need a little help with this. Is it possible I can get this done? These are the issues I'm facing. This is what Roundup is all about.
Right. And we do touch on Roundup just about every month, talk about what a great program it is, but it's probably a good time as any to
I think
give
it
everybody
is.
a refresher of what Operation Roundup is. It's Intercounty's charitable foundation, and it is wholly funded by our members who round their bill up to the next nearest dollar.
That's
Literally
why it's
what
called Operation Roundup.
Right. So if your bill was $99.50, we would round it up to $100 even, and that 50 cents would go into the charitable fund.
Or it's 99.01.
Then
you
we
lose
would
99 cents.
Then we would round up 99 cents, or if it was 99.99, we would only round it up a penny.
If you're levelized billing, no, it's
It's $1. So if
$1.
you are on levelized billing and you would like to be on Operation Roundup, it is $1 a month. That's the most it could be. Average is anywhere from $5 to $7 a year
Yep.
over the
About
course
right.
of a full year, but about 50 cents a month. Not a whole lot you or I could do with 50 cents to help somebody. You have a neighbor that needs a furnace repair, a couple of quarters is not going to go very far. But we have
Don't even buy the screw.
no,
Tighten on the
that's the
tie.
truth. But when you put your 50 cents with my 50 cents and everyone else's that's participating, it does start to add up. That money is what sits in the Operation Roundup, that charitable fund. And each month, as you mentioned, we do go over applications that are received. So how we do that is we have 7 different volunteer delegates, and they are residents of the different areas we serve.
Sure.
And so if someone here in the Salem area was needing help and they turn in an application, then the delegate here in the Salem area would get that, not the one in the Mountain Grove area. And once you turn your application in, it goes to that delegate. That delegate will reach out and contact you. Sometimes it's hard to put on paper what your situation is. There's a couple of lines there
Right.
that ask for the purpose of your request. But like I said, sometimes it's hard. You know, were you doing just fine, but then the furnace went out and you've already got the car in the shop and the kids have stuff at school that they needed money for. I mean, there's just a lot of times that you can be doing just fine and then all of a sudden you need a little bit of help.
Right. Sometimes that ends up being like prescriptions and things of that nature where some
Right.
children get sick and or they get an infection. And we all know sometimes the cost of prescription
Yeah.
drugs is
And then if they're out of
extremely prohibitive.
school, you may have to be off work to be at home with them. It's just so quickly you can kind of get in a situation where you start to worry about being able to make all
And
your
meet.
payments.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so Operation Roundup, that's really its intended purpose. This is not a program. One of the questions we get a lot is this a program that you get on and every month they pay so much towards a bill? And that's not what Operation Roundup is. It's need-based, first of all. It's not income-based. We take a look at each application individually and consider the situation. But it's a one-time assistance. So it may be that this month you just need help with that furnace repair bill. That's what we can help you with. Is there, have you gotten behind on your rent because you've had to pay things like a furnace repair bill or vehicle repairs? You know, these are the types of things that we can help with. You'll turn that application in, as Stan mentioned. If you turn it in during the month of October, then it'll be considered at the November meeting. And what happens is that delegate that reached out to you and said, hey, Stan, got your application, had a few questions, just wanted to talk to you about your priorities. They're making sure they know what your needs are, where those payments would be sent to, like, you know, do you have a copy of this furnace repair estimate or whatever it might be. And then when they meet the second Tuesday of every month, which is same day as radio day, when they meet, then they go over all those applications. And your delegate, when it comes around to your name on the agenda, then they say, this month I met with Stan, and this is what's going on, this is his situation, and this is what I recommend we do. As long as that passes by a majority vote, they write checks that day. The checks are always written to the payee. So if we approved for a furnace repair bill to be paid, we wouldn't write the check out to you. We write that out to the furnace company. And it goes directly to them with a letter that very specifically outlines it's for this person, for this purpose.
Based upon whatever estimate they gave them.
Right. And that delegate will have already reached out to the payee to confirm, using the furnace repair example, they would reach out and say, hey, we see you met with so-and-so. This is the estimate. Is that going to get everything fixed? We're going to consider paying that in November. So, or if it was rent, they're going to reach out to the landlord. So it's not going to be a surprise when they get a check because they're going to kind of be on the same page. But I do want to mention this is kept confidential. This information, when those applications come in, we have one employee at Intercounty, the Roundup delegate that sees those. Or the Roundup coordinator, I'm sorry, and
I know what you meant.
She gets those packets out, and they go to the delegates. So you've got 7 volunteer delegates and a coordinator that sees those, and it stays there. We take that very seriously, and we know it's hard for a lot of people to ask for help.
Exactly. Everybody's got pride.
And I really think that there are probably more people in our local communities that could use a little bit of assistance, and for whatever reason they don't turn an application in. If you're listening and you could use some help, please don't let your pride stop you from asking.
Reach out. At least ask questions.
Right. And we've got, we have a ton of members that are participating. We've got almost 19,000 that participate in Operation Roundup.
At 50 cents each, that's $9,500.
And it
Just
does
in
add
case.
up. And those people, they're rounding their bills up because they want to be able to help. They want people in our local communities to receive assistance when they need it. And you don't know, it might be you in the next couple of months that could use it.
Yeah.
And
That's exactly right.
the money is there, the program is there. We just have to know if you have a need. And maybe you're listening and you don't have a need, but you've got a neighbor that you think could use it. You can pick up an application, and it doesn't have to be for yourself.
Wow.
They're available on our website too. You can print them directly off from there. We can mail them to you if you call in. But if you've got somebody that maybe could use some help that might also need some help filling that out, you can always, your relationships with the people that you're thinking about. And if it's someone that you think would be okay with you suggesting that, then please let them know Intercounty has a program that does some stuff like this.
So a question that somebody might ask is, I'm not on Intercounty Electric, so can I apply for this?
Good question. So if you were to look at a map of Intercounty's outermost boundaries, like the farthest northeast, south, and west that we go,
Way up there.
and you reside within those outermost boundaries, even if you're on a city municipal, we consider you part of our local communities, and you are eligible to apply. So if you are right here in Salem and you're on Salem Utilities, don't think that you cannot apply,
Rolla
because
Municipal Utilities, things of that
right,
nature. Yep.
Houston, Kabul, we have several cities that are within our outermost, and you're still eligible. So reach out, contact us, let us know if there's a need, and then we can take a look at that application. And when we meet at the next meeting, they'll go over your application, and the discussions that happen in that room stay in that room. And we have an incredible group of delegates. These volunteer delegates, they take this work very seriously. They're very dedicated to it. They have servant hearts too. That's
sure,
why they're
sure.
part of the program. And they participate in the program. They want to be good stewards of that money, because part of that money is their contribution as well.
Exactly. The reason I really wanted to talk a little bit about Roundup, we really haven't gone in depth about it in quite some time, is really because this is the most stressful time of the year for families. You started getting into the October, November, December with Christmas, Thanksgiving, different things, family obligations.
Taxes,
we all know that.
colder weather, higher electric
right,
bills.
and it gets very stressful, and a lot of people will try. I mean, they will do their best to try and make it on their own, and God love them. that they won't ask for a handout, and those are the very people I'd give a handout to before it. I know they're trying to make it. Sometimes you just can't get above water. It just isn't there at that moment.
Right.
You just can't do it. And this is kind of a life preserver. It's not going to pull you in. It's there. You grab on life preserver so you can make it, but it's not going to change your life totally, but it will get you out of a situation where you can breathe.
Right.
You can take that breath. You can not worry about the child's prescriptions. You don't have to worry about that stove that suddenly went down or caught fire or whatever it might be that
Right.
you can't replace right now. These are the things that Operation Roundup can really help you with. And it's not just one item. I mean, like you were saying earlier, if your furnace went out and you can't get that fixed, so you can't pay the rent, car bills due, I got to get that paid for. And the last thing you really want to do is go get a payday loan.
Oh, please don't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're never going to get out from underneath that.
Yeah.
That'll put your stress level at X
1,000.
times X times X times X.
Right.
It's crazy. So do the neat and easy thing. Just call Intercounty and say, I understand you have a program,
Can I get an
Operation
application?
Roundup. Can I ask how, or do I qualify? You can ask those questions. Obviously, if you're within a service area that Heather just told you about, yes. What do I have to do? How long does it take to get? You can ask all these questions, and they'll be more than happy to help you out.
Absolutely. And a question we do get very frequently is about electric bills. And so I want to kind of clear up some confusion on that. The only thing we do not help with is electric bills. And I know that seems backwards for a lot of people when we tell them that because we're the electric company. But a couple of reasons why we don't do that. First of all, the money is coming from our members who are rounding up their bill. It has to do with transparency. We're not asking you to contribute extra to your electric bill so we can keep it and make sure all of our bills are paid. That's not the intention of this program.
Right.
We want to get the money out into the communities. We want to make sure we're helping. And we don't want it to appear as if we did it so that we can make sure our cash flow is good. Second thing, there are a lot of organizations around that help with utility bills.
Yep.
If you're needing assistance on a utility bill, just about every area has a local organization that pays on electric bills or propane bills or whatever type of heat you might have. So there's assistance available out there for that type of need.
Right.
But there's not always a place that can help you buy materials to construct the wheelchair ramp that you suddenly need in your home that you don't have.
Good point.
Or to pay that furnace repair bill, or to pick up your kids' prescriptions, or whatever it might be. You know, your car's sitting down in the shop and it's done, but you can't pick it up to get to work because you can't pay the bill because you haven't been to work. It's just an
Gosh,
endless
what a
cycle.
cycle that is.
It is. And so Roundup is unique in that we can do those sort of oddball requests. There's not restrictions beyond electric bill.
Sure.
And a lot of other organizations, they might say, oh, I'm sorry, your car repair bill is due and you can't pick it up, but we can't help with that type of thing. Do you need your electric bill paid? So if you're needing help with your electric bill, chances are Roundup can help you anyway with something else. So reach out to us. Let us know. We'll get you a Roundup application. And then maybe you can reach out to the assistance organization to get help on your utility bill as well and not feel like you're drowning.
Right. And Community Action Agency has a number of programs. The LIHEAP program is out there, and it's a great way to get assistance now. Don't put off until you absolutely have to have it. That's always seems to be what people tend to do. I didn't realize my bill was going to be that high. Well, but you could have been on the program if you already know you're kind of maxed out to where you know what you can pay for your electric bill, and all of a sudden you get a cold blast. It's good to be on the program. You can get on the program, the LIHEAP program. You can just call your South Central Community Action Agency. They can tell you how to get on the program. If you qualify, there are income restrictions, obviously, but they can tell you how to get on the program. And there's other local agencies that can assist you. Usually it's a one-time assistance, but still it's a one-time assistance if you need something that month. And again, they're there for a one-time help. Salvation Army, things of that nature.
Right.
They can assist you and help you out a little bit. May not cover your entire bill because they are maxed out. There's a maximum amount that they can give, and that's it. A lot of people say, well, you can just pay for that. Well, you guys raised $30,000. Yeah, well, it's $30,000 for the whole community.
Yeah.
All right, so you need 300, or you need 300, or you need 500, or whatever. We can only give away X amount of dollars. That's the max, and that's it.
Right. Right.
So there's a lot of people out there in misconception. They think, well, it's unlimited funds. I can come back every time I need funds. No, it's like once a year you can come in and you can get that assistance, and that's why these programs that are like one-time shots are there to get you through a troubled time. That's what they're supposed to be used for.
It is.
So please, think ahead. And you already know winter's coming. Start putting money aside now while it's 65, 70 degrees. Put extra money aside, $20, $50, whatever it might be that you can afford. Just put it aside. Leave it there and say, okay, so if we get a little extra high bill in January, if I do this for 3 months in a row, I got an extra $150.
Yeah.
That's how you have to kind of start budgeting. It's kind of like to be budgeting 101.
Right.
That you try and help yourself
Set some
first.
back.
I remember Miss Jane one time, a long time ago. So charity starts at home, but at the same time, you can rely on friends to help you. You can rely on others to help you, but charity starts at home. You've got to get it done here. Help your own people first.
Right.
It's great to give money to help out United Way and all these other people, but you got people in your own community that can use some help too.
Yeah. And Roundup is really unique in that because it is money that comes from local community residents, and it stays local. I talked about that outermost boundary, and we get questions sometimes like, well, if I round my bill up, yeah, it may not seem like a whole lot, but are you giving it to people in Kansas City or St. Louis or Springfield? They're used to programs having large chunks of money being sent to these bigger cities, and that's not how this works. It does all stay within our outermost, Intercounty's outermost boundaries, so it stays local. It really is neighbors pitching in to help out neighbors.
Right.
It's a great program.
And most of those utilities have their own programs.
A lot of
They
them
really
do. Yeah.
Ameren does, I know. And there's also Spire has that, which used to be the Clee Gas in St. Louis. They all have that program you can add to your bill to help somebody else.
Yeah.
And you can do that voluntarily.
Yeah.
And it works for only in their service area.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, we've got over 18,000 accounts that are already rounding up. So if you're one of those people and you're listening, maybe you didn't know exactly what you were contributing to, and hopefully you understand that a little bit better now. But thank
I
you.
do now.
Huge thank you.
relieved?
Yeah. Huge thank you. Quite literally, there would not be a program without members opting to round up their bill, because that's where 100% of the money comes from. I do want to mention too, 100% of that does go back out to the community. We get asked that sometimes, like, well, how much does Intercounty keep for administrative?
Nothing.
And we don't keep
all volunteer.
any of that. The delegates volunteer. The salary for the coordinator that works in the office, that's just part of her job at Intercounty and what she's paid for. Nothing comes out of those donations except for member or application request when we approve an application and we send money out. So 100% of what comes in goes back out to the community. Really great program. It's designed well. It operates well. Sounds like we just need to make sure we're getting the word out well.
Exactly. Well, I want to make sure that too. And a tip of the cap to all the coordinators that make it all happen. Obviously you have one true coordinator that gets the packages out, and then you've got all those representatives that are out there, and they are crossing the T's and they're dotting the I's, and they're making sure everything is good. Guys, that's a lot of work, but they're doing it because they really have a passion for helping their fellow man, and that's what it's all about. So
Right.
A big tip of the cap to Intercounty's Roundup program, and hopefully you are a member of that Roundup program. And if you're not, it's really easy to become one. I mean, really easy.
Lots of different ways, yeah. So
Heather, tell them about
I can
a
tell
couple
you,
of them.
I'm like, hopefully I don't leave anything out.
I
So
know.
if you still pay with a paper bill, there is a checkbox on the front of that if you're not already a member, you can check that to sign up for Roundup, and we'll see that when it comes in, and we'll sign your account up. You can always call us, any of our offices, if you stop in or go through the drive-through. We had a note mailed one time.
I was going to say.
We had a note mailed, not in with the bill, just a little note that says my account number is 123, and
Hook me up.
and I would like to be signed up on Operation Roundup. That's wonderful. You can, through Smart Hub, if you have Smart Hub, you can sign up that way. You can send us an email through the Contact Us on our website. Of course, we've got events like today. We're not going to have a computer sitting there at the station where we can sign you up, but we can take down your information, and when we get back to the office, we can sign you up. And you literally do nothing. Like, you just tell us you want to sign up, and then we take care of the rest
That's
of it.
it.
Your bill from there on out will be an even amount. It will be broke down, so you'll
You'll see it.
in the breakdown of your bill how much that month was Roundup.
And at the end of the year, you'll get a total.
You'll get a total, and it is tax deductible, that small amount.
It helps.
It helps if you're able to itemize on your taxes. That is tax deductible. So I believe the December and January statements are supposed to have that on there, what your annual
I'm
contribution.
not sure about that.
We'll find out this year.
No,
but
I usually see it
Yeah.
twice on there, but
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's December, January, or January, February.
I don't remember, but I think it's two different statements. But even if you don't see it, or you miss it, or you can't find
It isn't fine print, though. It's a little small little number
you can
there.
call us and say, hey, how much was my
Yeah.
contribution this past year to Operation Roundup? And we'll give you a total. I think mine last year was $7 and some change over the course of
Mine
the year.
was $6.12.
Yeah. Well, that's-
$6.12.
I mean, that's
That's one of the lower ones I've had. I usually had about like $7 or $8.
Yeah.
But $6.12.
right.
I had one that was $3.19 one time.
Oh, yeah? That's good.
quite a few years back.
Yeah.
But I was like, wow. You
Yeah.
know, usually it's like you said. I think usually that's $5 to $7.
Mm-hmm.
But normally between 4 and 8, you can almost guarantee you're going to be between those numbers.
Right. Just law of averages.
Yeah,
You're gonna land right in there. And again, not a whole lot that you are, even with our annual contribution, you're
No.
looking at $6-7. You can't really help somebody a whole
You know,
lot
at
with that.
$3.19 when I got that, I can't even buy a gallon of gas.
Right. Yeah.
But it could help somebody.
It can, and it does, and we see that every month because we have applicants that have filled out an application. They're in a situation where they could really use some help, and it's just amazing to be able to say, you know what, we got your next 2 months rent covered.
Right.
You take care of this other stuff that's going on.
And there have been some people
Mm-hmm.
that actually later on have given back some money to Roundup on their own, thanking them because they know how important it is for somebody in their situation to get that money.
Or maybe when they've asked for help, they weren't participating in the program because they didn't know about it. And then after they've received assistance from Roundup, they're like, hey, this is a really fantastic program. Why don't you start running my bill up?
There you go.
And then our numbers grow, and then the money that comes in grows, and then we can do more good. So that's a good cycle.
And another thing you can do to help Roundup is at your annual capital credits. If you don't want those sometimes small checks that you're going to get, if you don't want them, or if you don't, you say, hey, you know what, on my capital check on this account, just donate it to Operation Roundup.
Yeah.
And it can be done.
We've seen some adult children of deceased members do that.
But you
know.
can just do it anyway.
You can do it anyway, but I don't know if we have anybody that, I'd have to look, but I know we've got some families where the mother and father have both passed. There's multiple adult children, and they're like, man, you break that check apart four ways.
It's going to cost you more to
It's
write
not-
a check.
And so they just decide that, hey, that goes to Operation Roundup. And then what happens when capital credit checks are written, that one goes to
Let's go straight
Operation
there.
Roundup, and that's a donation to the organization.
So, and if you just want to write a straight donation to
You
it,
can.
they would take it, and it is tax deductible.
It is, that's right.
You know, so if you have any questions about making just a straight contribution to Operation Roundup, you just call Intercounty. They can tell you exactly how to do it. And, we're not going to go over all that here, but you can do that. And
Right.
that number is really easy to remember because Heather has it remembered.
It is, and hopefully everybody's got it stored in their phone anyway, so they can
should.
just tell their phone to call Intercounty and they get us. But if you don't,
Siri.
go ahead and, well, I wasn't going to say it because how many phones are listening?
Well, you
But-
can call it anything. You can call it Agatha if you want.
Yeah,
Agatha.
rename her. If you want to call our office, the toll-free number is 866-621-3679. And you can call that number for anything, whether it's something we talked about today or not, and we'll get you to the right person and hopefully get you taken care of.
Oh, very good. So if you have any questions about Roundup, that's the number to call.
That's right.
You know, whether you're interested in the program, you want to donate to the program, you know, or maybe you're just, you say, you know, hey, what is there anything I can, maybe you want to be a volunteer delegate at somewhere down the road. Say, hey, can you guys put my name in on that? Because sooner or later, a lot of times the delegates either retire or they get transferred, or you never know. That they are working, many of them are working people.
Right. And we've had several. We actually had a time where we had a couple at the same time that were stepping down, retiring from that position as a delegate. And we were looking for people. So, yeah, if it's something that sounds like you may want to do that and fill that role, let us know. And it may not be that we have a spot for you right now, but boy, it'd sure be nice when we have the need to say, hey, there was this one person that called a couple years ago. They were interested. Let's reach out to them and see if that's
or a few months back. And just
Right.
say, hey,
Yeah.
if they can fill in, that'd be great, you know, because it is such a worthy cause. You'd hate to have people not get funded because they're short. You
Yeah.
know, that would not be a good thing. We don't want to hear that.
Yeah. Well, and that's the really great thing about these delegates. They will step up if there's someone missing, or I mean, there's even times when our own delegates are sick. Maybe they're out, and so then your neighboring delegate, they're picking up the applications. If you turn in an application, it's going to be considered. It doesn't matter if there's a delegate in your area at the time, or if they retired the week before, or whatever the situation may be. Those delegates are really just phenomenal, and they're gonna make sure your application is seen and taken care of. But
good.
yeah, reach out, let us know if you've got any questions about the program.
All right, very good. I don't have anything else to talk about
I don't
today.
either. Make sure you come
You're
and
gonna
join
be
us today.
busy.
We're gonna be busy. Yep.
Heather's going to be out there slaving away. Are you preparing the sack lunches, or are you going to be helping the cooks?
Nope, I'll be preparing the sack lunches.
you're
I'll
gonna-
probably be at the table talking to people, and I like to
probably.
talk. So
What?
I know. Can you imagine
I
that?
can imagine that.
Making sure they get their name in the drawing box, making sure they get however many sack lunches they need.
Yeah. You're actually pretty good at it.
Well, I don't know.
About once a month, I find out.
Once a month, right? I just keep blabbing, so.
Well, no. Usually, you have very good things to say, and
Good.
and very I often hope that people listen to what is being said. Heather's telling you, and a lot of times, what she bases a lot of her stuff on is actual experiences that you've experienced in Intercounty with with members, or with linemen that they brought to you, or maybe even like Tony with something with economic development. I mean, you hear a lot of these things, and a lot of times that's what you pass on to our listeners here, because this is what's going on.
Right. And, at the beginning of the show, we kind of talked about if you have something that you want to share with us, a complaint or a concern or a question, we want to know at these Member Appreciation Day events. We want to know, but we want to know year round. You don't wait till annual meeting or Member Appreciation Day. Maybe it's something we've not talked about on the radio that you'd like to hear about. Reach out and let us know. You can ask for me. They'll transfer you to my extension. If I don't answer because I'm out at something like this, leave a message, and maybe it's something we can talk about next month that you've had some questions
go.
about.
And we're always looking for those newer topics. A lot of times what we talk about are reminders, simply because, well, I've done that. I recaulked all my house 7 years ago. 7 years ago.
Probably needs it again.
And it does not necessarily need it again, but you need to check
might.
it.
Yeah.
Have you checked it lately? A lot of times when we, I know personally, I always think I'm pretty good when I do stuff like that. My
The quality of your work was so good,
my
but
DIY, do it yourself. And when I caulk, and I try and be meticulous, but you know what? Sometimes when you do caulk, and if you're using your finger, and you should, sometimes use that little tool, which probably is a lot better. When you get to corners, you think you've got it covered, and you don't. because maybe you put a little curl up, and underneath that curl, the water
little
can
air
still goes
bubble
in,
or
or
something.
air goes in. So, I mean, no matter how great of a DIY person you are, you may, after a couple of years, see that has now pulled apart, got some water in there, froze. Caulk is not forever, and you need to actually just take another recheck.
Right.
You don't have to go, and if it looks great and it's pliable, if you can still touch it and moves, you're probably in pretty good shape. Here's another thing about that, Heather, and hopefully I'm not going to try and scare anybody, but if you have had any shifting in your house and your caulk would be separated, like pulled apart, you'll see that there's an issue there. And a lot of times people don't realize some of these sonic booms, when they come through, on the flights over toward the fort, all of a sudden you see little blemishes or things that have gone wrong because your whole house shakes. Doesn't shake sometimes all that much, but sometimes it does.
And houses settle, and there can
Sure
be
they do. And so if you have a little separation in there, now all of a sudden, just because of a one little walk by, look at real quick, ain't going to take you but 15, 25, 30 seconds.
Right.
And you see something like, well, wait a minute, that doesn't look right. Now's the time to get it fixed, because when it gets cold, you can't do it.
Right. And that's when you're going to want it.
That's when you're going to want it.
Yeah.
Enough said.
All right.
Very good. Heather, as always, we appreciate you. Heather Tidwell from Intercounty Electric, and we appreciate you being in town all day today.
All day,
All
yeah.
day. You're going to make everybody's day.
We're going
She got her
to
nice
get their bellies
sweater on.
full anyway.
She's got her Intercounty shirt on. She's got her sweater on. She's ready to go.
Ready to go.
And let me see. I'm going to tell you if it's
You're going to tell me the weather?
I'm going to tell you if it's warmed up a little bit, because
Well,
no. That's not refreshing.
oh, you got to refresh it.
I got to refresh
But
it.
11 to 1. Just remember 11 to 1 over at the Commons.
49 now.
Hey, see, it
So
did
that's
warm
like
up.
12 degrees warmer when you
Yeah.
came in. You may not even need
I
that.
know. I'm going to
Is
get
that
out there
a
and be like,
short sleeve T-shirt?
it is.
You're probably going to need a sweater. Still a little bit,
Yeah.
I think so. But nonetheless, we do appreciate everybody from Intercounty.
Absolutely.
Got a great staff. They really do good work. When you really need them, that's when you can count on them. And I think people sometimes, well, I really need them and they're not here. Well, okay, so if it's the middle of a storm and your electric goes off, in 5 minutes they're not going to be there. Okay, more than likely, unless they have to be right outside your door when it goes off. But, people, you have to use a little bit of common sense. Give them a chance. Once they know your electric's off, they're going to do everything they can to get you back up and running as quickly, as reasonably as possible.
Yeah.
Because in the middle of a ice storm, we've seen that happen before.
It's a lot of work.
Well, sometimes I tell you what, and that's when I tip my cap to these guys and I say, thank you for doing what you do, because they ain't going to be me.
Yeah.
They're climbing those poles, they're out there, and even when they use, I'll call it the half track, and I don't even know what that thing is called that they go back there along the pole line with, but they're going through ice and stuff, and I tell you what, that is not easy to drive that, to get back there to some of those locations, which are, and we all know, Heather, sometimes in our county, a bit remote.
Very remote, yes. We've got a nice story coming out in the November Rural Missouri, so keep your eyes open for it. But we had a chance to sit down with some of our linemen, talk to them about what do they go through, what's the process when they get an outage call. And it's kind of just like from their perspective and the things that they have to do. And why did you see them drive by your house 3 times? They're checking the breaker. They're looking for what's on the line. Then they're resetting the breaker. Just kind of a lineman's view of, and this isn't an ice storm. This isn't a multiple spans of line down. This is just
Typical outage.
Just a typical outage. So watch for that in your November magazine and read that if you've got a few minutes and
that sounds
help
like
you
it.
understand
Yeah.
what they do a little bit better.
Well, I tell you what, and that's a great thing, because nobody, the great old adage, walk a mile in my shoes, okay? Really still, it applies. And to those guys, you're climbing a mile in their shoes sometimes, and you're walking, and you're holding, and you're cramped up, and there's
Yeah.
no.
I'm with you, Stan.
yeah,
It's not
yeah.
a job I would want to have, but I'm very appreciative of the ones that do it.
And the guys that you guys have doing it are fantastic.
They are.
And
They really
they're
are.
really nice. I have never, ever had a problem with any intercounty person I've ever had to deal with. I may not like what they got to say when they tell me my transformer's still good or something. I'm like, it's rusted through, man. He said, it's still operating. It's still good. And we really can't just go replace it because you don't like the looks of it.
Right.
I get it. I
Right.
mean, but it sure looks like it's just going to go off any minute, but it's not. And that's why when you call them and they check it out, it's not the answer I want to hear.
Right.
I think I deserve a new transformer. It's only been up there 40 years, right? Well,
Yeah.
who knows? I don't know how long it's been up there, but it doesn't look good.
Right.
But they check it out thoroughly, and then they come back and say, look, it's operating just fine. There's not a problem with it. But if you have issues with it, if you start to get blinks or something of that nature, please call us back.
Right.
Because there might be something that we didn't see, but everything as far as when they do their
Testing.
their diagnostics on it and everything's good, it's all checking out. They can't just go replace them because that
affects our rates.
That's right. That is members'
Money.
rates that are going to be affected every time you just get something done willy-nilly. Everybody has to pay for it. So,
Right.
and transformers right now, I can honestly tell you guys, you don't want to be buying one.
Yeah. Well, and I think we're going to see, costs are going up for everything. And I think it would be a little naive to think that electric bills are not going to go up in the future. I don't know how much or when, but, talking about even just the transformer and the cost of those, the cost of everything is really...
And the availability of them, Heather, is the problem.
Yeah.
Because, when they say scarce as hen's teeth, well, if you can't find it, guess what? The price is going to go up if you can. Because somebody's sitting on a gold mine, and they know that. And they're going to sell it to the highest bidder. And if you're the only one in town with that 18 kW transformer that's needed really bad over there, how much are you willing to pay for my 18 kW transformer?
And that's why Stan has a functioning, efficient transformer that's not pretty.
It's not pretty, but it's working.
But it is safe and it is efficient and it's working.
And I think people, when these guys come out replacing poles, I think we talked about this a few times, probably back last winter when they replaced a pole out here on 19. First one off hit the pole. The ground was so frozen, and we had to get the pole from Intercounty because they had to come and dig the hole
to put it in. Because
city guys, their trencher didn't go that deep, and Intercounty had to come and do it, and it's really tight. I mean, all alignment in Intercounty and all alignment in the city, and they were working together to get this thing done, guys.
That's good.
It's amazing how that works. But they were there, I think, 6 hours, and temperature minus 12 or some crazy thing like this. No way, that.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that, but that pole was probably close to $1,000, just the pole. Then you got to take all the appurtenances off the old pole, and put them on the new pole, and you're trying to do that in minus 12. Are you kidding me?
Right, my fingers would be numb.
Yeah, that's why that hot cup of coffee I saw about earlier. You put
Right, there we go. We've made full circle, haven't we?
We sure have. But you don't understand. These are the things that, and then people say their job is easy. I don't want to be up there in minus 12, sitting on there with the wind blowing, and you got to have gloves on. You can't feel your hands, and you're trying to put a pole up there, and you're trying to get this bracket over to that pole. You guys have at it.
Right. Thank you for what you do.
Thank you for what you do, because you're not going to get me complaining about that. Not at all.
Same
Not
here.
at all. And so, again, big thank you to Intercounty and the great, and I'm looking forward to that article and the great things that they do. I really do. You guys are really nice.
Good.
Appreciate that. It was nice to have Tony on a couple meetings back. I didn't know if I told you that when he came in.
Yep.
It was good to have Tony in. Of course, Tony's Tony.
Talked about economic development.
We did.
It's always good to get an
there's a lot of
update on
neat
that.
things out there that Intercounty can do for you. If you're a small business, you're looking to expand, or maybe you're a bigger business looking to expand, just remember Intercounty has programs that can help you out too. They have a revolving loan fund. They can help you with a CDBG grant, or grant loan, I guess necessarily grant, but a loan, and they can help you with these, but you have to ask. They just don't know you're going to need it.
Right. And the great thing is you don't have to remember all those things or know all those things. You just have to call and ask, because when you call, you can give your specific situation.
Sure.
This is who we are.
Right.
This is the size of our business. This is what we're looking to do. Is there anything you can do for
Right.
us?
And if you have an amount in mind, and then that will dictate possibly which way it has
Mm-hmm.
to go. The revolving loan fund for smaller amounts. If you need $1 million, you're not going to get that in a revolving loan fund.
Right.
But you can still apply for the CDBG, which are done on a quarterly basis. Those applications are done that way, and it takes a while as you're going through the federal government to get that.
Right.
So it takes a little while.
A little bit longer.
But
yeah.
again, you don't have to go to the SBA. You can just work with somebody you feel a little bit more
Local.
comfortable with. And if you can't feel comfortable with Tony, I don't know what it's going to take. He's pretty easy going and down to earth. I know. I'm building him up again. But I mean, in all honesty, he will sit and try and do the best he can to make sure that you are getting what you need. And
Right.
he'll ask you all the questions, and he'll follow up on. I mean, I know when I got my loan, when we did the FM, we were able to talk. He was constantly in contact with me all the time. Did you get this information? The attorney get back with you? Blah blah. Just following up, just to make sure that all the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, that it gets done.
And our business owners, they're important to us. They are. Our members are important to us. Our business owners are members too. So reach out. Let us know if you've got a need. Let us see if there's something we can do for you.
Very good.
Yeah.
You guys do a lot. We do appreciate you. All right. Don't forget, Commons, 11 to 1.
11 to 1.
You can go see Heather in person.
That's right.
And see who's behind this voice you hear on the
And I'm going to
radio.
give you lunch.
And she's going
I'm going to give you
lunch.
lunch.
Holy cow.
Put your name in for the electric credit drawing. We're going to give away
free electric as well.
$50 credit. I mean, every little bit helps,
You
right?
bet. I'll take it. You
Yeah.
can give me one.
It covers those inflatables if you wanted to put those in your
I'm
yard.
not going to put any in that. No, I'm not going to do that. But anyway, nonetheless, you have an opportunity.
Yes.
Going out. It is Intercounty. It's Member Appreciation Day, really,
That's right.
for you. So head on out to the Commons. You guys going to be in the youth building? You're going to probably be in the youth building, I imagine.
That
right?
first main
building right there as
Yeah.
you come in. Okay,
Yeah.
so you'll be in the youth building and just go in, and once you hear her voice, you'll know.
You'll know it's me.
You won't even have to look around. You'll say, well, that's Heather. I can tell.
It's Heather with Intercounty.
Yeah, they're with Intercounty. Makes it easy.
I know, right?
You get that everywhere you go anyway.
I do. They're like,
Anyway,
hey, I recognize your voice.
I've been there. I know that. I know you. Yeah. Did anybody ever tell you that when you're out somewhere that I've heard your voice?
Yeah. Yep.
And then they don't know where.
Until they ask you what your name is. And then when you
Yeah.
say, I'm Heather with Intercounty. Yep.
It's a funny last name from Intercounty.
Meh.
It's all right. You're used to it by
Yep.
now. Thank you. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Again, Intercounty Day today, Commons 11 to 1. And we really appreciate everything that Intercounty does. My name is Dan Stevens. It's Intercounty Tuesday on KSMO Radio. And we've got some civic happenings coming your way next. That's up when we return in just